Welcome back again to Rinka's Kitchen. I have another family favorite recipe that I'd like to share with you. It's called baked beef, SÜLT MARHAHÚS. All you will need for this recipe is 2 kilograms of top sirloin oven roast, 5 medium carrots, 2 medium onions, 7 garlic cloves, 1 red bell pepper, 1 teaspoon of ground black pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of vegeta or vegetable base, 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil, and a half a cup of water. So what I've done is I've washed and peeled and cut carrots in half, so I have those here, and then I've diced the onions and bell pepper and garlic. So what I've done is I've cut the oven roast into 1/2 inch slices, and then I washed and placed the slices of beef into a large roasting pan. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place the carrots in between the beef, and it just cooks well if you do that, so I'm just going to start doing that. Going to place them right in there. They just cook better if you do that. And I'm just going to put another one here and another one in here. Then I'm going to take the water, the 1/2 cup of water, and then I'm just going to pour it over the beef. Now you don't want to be using too much water because your vegetables will have water in it, and also your meat will have water in it. So that's basically all you need for moisture for now. And then what I do is with a fork I'm going to individually season each of the steak. So I'm going to start off with my ground pepper. So I'm just going to do all one side first. I'm going to put all the seasoning on one side, and then I'm just going to turn it over with a fork and do the other side. So the next one would be, I'd use the salt, and so I take some of the salt and I sprinkle it on the one side. So I'm going to do all the seasoning on one side, and then I'm just going to do the other side the same way. Then I've got the vegeta. Now vegeta, you can buy it at your local deli. Sometimes this is where I got mine. And then just going to do the one side. If you can't find the vegeta, then you can use a vegetable base. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn over each of the steak. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to use the black pepper and the salt, and I use the sea salt and the vegeta. The paprika is going to be put on later, and that's only going to go on the top half of the each of the steaks. And this was a roast to begin with, so it's a top sirloin roasting oven steak. I'm just going to make sure that I have all these turned over, and then I'm going to use the black pepper again, and I'm going to do the same thing again and sprinkle a bit of black pepper on each of the pieces of beef. Now you can use other cuts of beef if you want. If it's a tougher beef, you want to probably marinate it. Use it in a marinating seasoning for it. But this comes out so moist in the oven. It just melts in your mouth. That's how how easy it is to cut and eat. It's a great recipe, and this is a recipe that my grandmother and mother would make. Okay, so, and then of course I have the put some vegeta on there. Make sure I have enough there. Okay, and then just gonna, there's a little bit left over in the dishes there. Okay, so, and then what we do next, what you do next is then you sprinkle the paprika on there, on top of the pieces of beef on there. So that's what I'm going to do, and I've got about 2 teaspoons of paprika. You can use more if you want, depending on the spice, but this just gives it nice color and flavor. So I'm going to sprinkle all of the, just on the one side, not on both sides. This is sufficient enough to do it. So, and 2 teaspoons is quite a bit. It doesn't look a whole lot in the bowl, but a little goes a long way. But like with any recipe, if you want to double it, you want to add more black pepper, you like a lot of black pepper, you can do that, depending on your taste for seasoning. And then I'm going to sprinkle the vegetable oil, just drizzle on there, sprinkle it a bit. Just gives it more moisture. And we're not using a whole lot there for it. Okay, now we're going to start adding the onions and the garlic. So I think what I'll do is I'll start off with the garlic. So I'm just going to sprinkle it on, sprinkle it over the beef. Gives it really nice flavor. There's 7 cloves in there. If you want to use more, you're more than welcome to do that. That's depending on your taste, or if you don't want a whole lot, then you can just add half of that. And then I've got two medium onions. I use the sweet onions. I like to cook with that. And I've got a lot of onions here with this recipe. So if you want to use less, this is about 2 medium onions. So I'm just going to sprinkle this all on top of the meat. And I've cut them fine. You might want to do it a bit, and you might want to cut them bigger. And this is just great. And a lot of moisture comes out of the vegetables too. And then I've got some red bell pepper. I've got a whole red bell pepper, about a medium-sized one. And that just, again, gives it flavor and color. Again. My next recipe next week will be a pork recipe. So you can look forward to seeing my pork recipe again with in the oven. Okay, and what I've done is I've preheated the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I'm going to bake this for about approximately for about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to just take a large spoon, and I'm going to whatever moisture comes out of the vegetables and the beef and the water that I've added, I'm going to just sort of sprinkle it on top of just use that moisture, and then just sprinkle it on top of the beef, and then put it back in the oven. Lower my temperature to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I'm going to bake it at for about an hour. So it's best to check with a thermometer, a meat thermometer, and the internal temperature. So it should be about 170 degrees Fahrenheit, 77 degrees Celsius. So when the meat is ready to be, when it's cooked well, then you can take it out of the oven and serve it with either rice or potatoes. And also pasta is okay too, but rice and potatoes with it. And I have a great recipe on the website. It's a parsley potato recipe, or you can just serve it with mashed potatoes, whichever way you want to serve it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into the oven with a lid. So you need a lid on top of it to cover the roasting pan, tightly fit lid. And I will be back in about an hour and a half to show you what this great recipe looks like. Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. I had in the oven some baked beef, SÜLT MARHAHÚS, and it's been in the oven for approximately an hour and a half. In the first 30 minutes I put the temperature to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I lowered the temperature to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. So after about 30 minutes I checked the beef, and what I did was I took the liquid that came out of the beef and the water out of the vegetable and the added water, and I just kind of took a large spoon and I just sort of spooned over the liquid over the beef. I put it back in the oven, and then of course I lowered the temperature to 325 degrees Fahrenheit and cooked it for an additional hour. So it's come out of the oven and it's just smelling fantastic. You can smell the onions and the garlic and the beef and all the spices. So what I'd like to do is show you this great recipe. I've put it into a serving dish, and this is what it would look like if you were serving it to guests. So as you can see, all the different colors, the magnificent colors of red and orange, and of course the broth from the beef and the vegetables. So, and then what I've done is I've cooked up some potatoes, and what I did was I took some fresh parsley and I just used the heads of the parsley, the top parts of the parsley, and cooked them with the potatoes in some salted water. So I'm going to show you what this great recipe looks like on a plate with some potatoes. So I've cooked up some potatoes, and as you can see it has the parsley, pieces of parsley in it. So I just added the parsley into the water and I cooked it with the potatoes. And then of course your oven roast, top sirloin oven roast beef, and the carrots. So I've added some of the onions and just some of the broth of the all of those ingredients. So I hope that you enjoy cooking this great recipe from my grandmother and mother. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me at irene@arinkaskitchen.com or arinkaskitchen.com. Until next time, bon appetit, jo eet vadet.